Ka Niti Sakala Dinya Karadura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananatha Daya Niti Sakala Dinya Karadura Hamari
Namaste.
Welcome.
Welcome to our weekly online satsang. It's good to have you with us tonight. We call it Flowering Heart Satsang. Our center is called Flowering Heart Center. We're all about the flowering of the heart and what draws us together in this satsang. We come from different places in the world, different teachings, different teachers, different belief systems, but we are sharing in the process of awakening, transformation, and the flowering of our hearts with divine consciousness and with unconditional love. That makes us closer to one another as we're sharing that journey than we are with people that might share our belief system or our spiritual or religious background. But those of us that are undergoing this amazing journey of transformation have more in common than anything that could distinguish us from one another. And it's so important that we do come together because we strengthen each other. Spiritual community is an essential part of the journey of awakening and transformation. Parts of it are very solitary. We understand that. But parts of it require us connecting with others. Even though each one of us has everything we need inside of us right now, there's nothing missing. Enlightenment is within you. Divine union is within you. The source itself, the entire universe is inside of you. That said, it's set up in such a way that we need one another for all of that to become fully activated. So we catalyze one another and we strengthen one another. As we do that, the grace of our awakening is rippling out through the world, through the universe really, but it's affecting the collective consciousness of humanity. Sometimes these days it doesn't look like it, but it really is. And when enough of us have consented to the journey of awakening, it will shift the entire collective consciousness, and this insane civilization of competition and conflict and violence will give way to a new world rooted in cooperation, harmony, and peace. That can only happen not through a political movement, not through a philosophical movement, not through some religious revival of any kind. It can only happen through the hearts of humanity flowering and awakening together. And that's where we're aimed. Glad you're with us. We share a special gift during these satsangs, really during all the processes that we do through Flowering Heart Center. We share the Flowering Heart Blessing, which is a transmission of divine energy, awakened consciousness, grace, unconditional love, that's a gift directly from the divine source for the purpose of catalyzing awakening in the receiver. And for those of us who are already awakening, it melts blocks, it hastens the journey, it makes it smoother. For those of us who might already be awakened, it deepens the awakening, because that's not a destination. It's an eternal process of expansion. So there's always more. And the Flowering Heart Blessing came to us about 6 years ago, I think, directly from the divine. And the divine presence said to Suzanne and me, this is my gift to humanity. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to any saint or avatar or enlightened master or organization or hierarchy. It's directly from me. And therefore, it's able to truly support people on whatever path they're called to. You don't find yourself being sucked into something else, but you can remain true to the path that you're on. Because while many of us share similar paths, there's something unique about the journey that each one of us takes. And it's the divine within us that holds the keys for that to make sense and unfold in each of our lives. So the Flowering Heart Blessing is that kind of a multi-faith, interfaith, trans-faith blessing from the divine that is absolutely free. The divine told us it's grace. Grace is a free gift of love. So you're not to charge for this blessing. And when anyone receives it, if they connect with it and they like the presence, the energy that they're receiving, they are instantly initiated to be able to pass it on to others. There's no special initiation course that would require you to travel or pay a lot of money or anything like that. Every one of us here tonight is soaking in that blessing. And it's transforming us and seeks to work through us to bless others. And whenever you give this blessing to another in meditation or prayer at a distance through intention, or directly with their consent through the laying on of hands, anyone who receives this blessing from you is immediately initiated to be able to pass it on. All you have to do is invite the divine to flow the Flowering Heart Blessing through you, and the divine does the rest. And it's amazing how everyone feels it. And how everyone who's received this blessing is actually enabled to open themselves as an instrument of grace or a vessel of the divine presence, to pour out awakening, to pour out healing, to pour out transformation. So please do. And you want to add anything?
Nope.
Okay. So after that brief explanation, we like to open it to questions and answers about the spiritual journey that you might have, that you'd like to seek additional clarity or understanding about perhaps something you're experiencing in your own spiritual practice or your own journey as it's unfolding, or just philosophically about awakening or God realization in general. We love to take those questions, and when you ask them, the divine is inspired to inspire us. In one place in Scripture says, you have not because you ask not. So ask, and you'll receive. And that's so true when it comes to seeking spiritual truth. When we ask the presence to open our understanding and give us clarity and insight, it always comes. Not always in the way or the time that we expect it, but it happens. And so part of our journey tonight will be to open to that. Then later on, we'll be sharing. And while we're going through the questions and answers and all the rest of this, please join us in sharing the Flowering Heart Blessing with the other participants. In fact, I think often most of the people who tune into these satsangs are doing it at another time, because they live somewhere else in the world, or they have the way their schedule works out. Many of our participants will tune in tomorrow, in the days ahead, even weeks ahead. And so we include them by intention in this whole process and in the blessings. So join us in inviting the Divine to pour the Flowering Heart Blessing through you tonight. And please give us a like or a love so we can see your names. Because unless, like Ekaterina, who made a comment, said, "Hi, hello," we won't know you're here unless you click on that little thumbs up down there and give us a like or a love. We like both of them. Likes, loves, it's all good. Then, after the questions and answers, we'll be doing specific intent blessings, very powerful for needs and circumstances that you've brought with you in your heart tonight. And we'll conclude with the open eye light meditation. So, in the meantime,
I'd just like to say thank you to those of you that have donated to our fundraiser. It feels really good to be supported as we continue to support you on your spiritual journey. So thank you very much. Very heartfelt.
it's true.
Thank you.
We're very grateful.
Yes.
And some, if what you're able to contribute is just to bless us, to bless the work of Flowering Heart community and center, then we are so grateful for that. I mean, that's the heart of it. And any prayers that you offer, if you're able to offer something more, that's wonderful. And somehow it all works out.
Yeah.
Yep. And has been for years and years and years. And the Divine is very faithful. When we put our lives out there, the Divine supplies everything we need. And so we feel no sense of lack. When we invite people to give, we don't do that often. It's another level of participation with us in the work, the Dharma that we're carrying out. So thank you. More, yes, and Linda over on Vimeo. And blessings to you. So we'll wait a few minutes and see if anyone has a question on their minds. I'll tell you, I get up every day and look at the world around me, and the mind has lots of questions. What the heck is going on, The mind is nothing but full of questions and presenting problems that need to be solved. And of course, then when we melt into the presence and we just open to the presence, especially as we deepen in our awakening, the mind ceases to be a problem, really. It still does its thing, but very gently and at a distance. And in very high states of awakening, it's completely silenced. And that's great. So no need to dive back into that if you're resting in the presence. Go ahead and do that. More says, life is complicated. There are days when I feel a lot of resistance, difficulty accepting what happens. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Someone brought up in our resident satsang here at Flowering Heart Center last week how one day will be so free and clear. There's peace, at least, maybe even joy in the midst of all of this. And then the next day, it seems there's so much resistance, so much conflict. That's what's happening in the world now. It's a wave. It's the Tao. And one day the wave is ascending and crests, and then the next day or the next day, it isn't always daily, but it often is like that, maybe several times even during the day. But we experience this uplifting of the presence into awakened higher states of consciousness. And then we experience this descent into the unknown, into the unconscious, into those levels of our consciousness and the collective consciousness that are still unconscious and in the process of being cleared and brought into the light. And it's happening at such a rate. I mean, years ago, the waves were slower and you could kind of coast with them. But if you've ever seen an oscillator, an instrument that reads frequencies, a slow frequency can be like a gentle wave, or even almost like delta waves in the brain, or almost a flat line. But as you turn up the frequency and it becomes higher and higher and faster, those waves become closer and closer together, and finally they become like jagged spikes compressed into a very small period of time. I think the world itself is experiencing that kind of increase in the oscillation of energy and consciousness and vibration. And that's disconcerting. Although once you catch that, it's possible to actually surf that high frequency field and just flow with it. But that is certainly a learning curve. Definitely. Let me go back to
that kind of surfing too is the fruits of our meditation on the heart space and meditation of the flowering heart, because when we can get into our hearts, whatever's going on in our mind or in the world, we're able to maintain that peace, because we know that the things that are going on outside, while they're affecting reality, the reality is we are all resting in that peace within ourselves, and to continue to deepen and strengthen and find that.
And by that, we're talking, of course, about the spiritual heart. There's so many levels on which we can address the heart, and they're all cool. I mean, like they've discovered, scientists, researchers have discovered that there are more neural pathways communicating from the heart to the brain than from the brain to the heart. Meaning that the heart is a sentient organ, a feeling organ that is actually sending massive communication to the brain. Who would have thought? Which is fascinating. And then, of course, there's the emotional heart, which most people, when we talk about feeling in the heart, are talking about romance or emotional peaks and lows. I mean, the heart also has terrible lows, grief and suffering that's emotional. What we're really talking about is the spiritual heart. So I actually just took us through 3 layers: spirit, soul, and body. There's the physical heart, there's the emotional or psychic heart, and then there's the spiritual heart, which is at the center of it all. And there is unbroken peace. There is vast, boundless space that is always awakened and present and enlightened. And the journey is really discovering that and how to access it, which one of the wonderful things that's coming out these days in a lot of great spiritual teaching through people like Craig Hamilton, Jeff Carrera, others that are talking about immediate awakening, is that instead of thinking it's something that might dawn on you years down the road if you're lucky or you have enough good karma, it's already there and it's the real you. The spiritual heart is there, like the pearl of great price, the treasure beyond value that's there in the center of your being, and we can learn to access that directly without any delay. And sometimes it's just been because people told us it was going to be hard and take a long time. And now more and more awakened, highly awakened spiritual teachers are using what Buddhists call direct pointing directly to the awakened space that is already within you, that is that heart that always has peace, always at peace. And we can learn to be continually attentive to that layer of our being without losing groundedness in our emotional or psychological or physical being, all of which is important as long as we're a human being on this earth. It's important what goes on in our psychological and emotional space and our physical space, and we put a lot of energy into that. A lot of us on the spiritual path as well. But that deepest layer is something we can be constantly aware of no matter what's going on in the psychic layers and in the physical layers of our being. And we highly recommend that. Ekaterina says, I just want again to ask a blessing for me and my son Daniel Ortega. He's very angry, sad, and confused, and he sends me his negative energy, and it's very heavy for me. I need success as an actress, and I feel blocked. Thanks. Well, understood. And he is your son, and he's going through a very difficult passage in his life because of what happened to his biological father. Without getting into all of that, because you have a compassionate and empathetic connection with him, you feel his pain, you feel the heaviness. And it's not so much that he's sending it to you, is he's desperately seeking relief from this crushing burden. Here's the thing, that you're only required to carry so much. And the minute it becomes crushing for you and blocking you, you're taking too much upon yourself. And you need to remember that's why the presence is there. The presence is here to support you, to strengthen you. You have, through your connection with the divine presence, a source of life and light and energy that transcends the physical body and the mental body. And the things you're describing are a heavy burden on the mental body, sure. But you don't need to take it on there. You need to completely keep giving it to the presence. And one of the ways you do that is continually sending blessing to your son. And as you're sending blessing, it releases you from the burden that you're carrying for him. It also releases him. And remember to keep offering up. You're not supposed to have to carry this alone. I mean, casting all your care upon the Lord, for the divine cares for you. Literally, worries for you, carries the weight for you. But you have to release it into the hands of the divine, which is very hard to do when you're a parent and there's an empathetic, emotional love connection. Of course, but you got to do it. and you will. You're going to make it. But yes, we will be offering special blessings and prayers for you and for Daniel when we get to the intention blessings a little later on. And thank you for asking. It's important to ask. It's also important to receive.
Yes.
You know, a lot of times, one of the things that is missing in our prayer life, well, for a lot of us, we think we shouldn't ask for anything. The divine knows if the divine wants us to have it, or it's part of our karmic or dharmic destiny, just let it be. To which the divine says, ask and you'll receive, seek and you'll find, knock and the door will be open to you. You have not because you ask not. So we all need to get over asking. And then there's this other part, receiving. A lot of times in prayer, which is communication with the divine presence, we ask and ask and ask and ask, and it seems like nothing's coming back. We need to take the time to receive, to be receptive, and to let the divine give us what we're asking for. And that's where receptive silence comes in, meditation, but sometimes in meditation people don't receive either. They're just blanking everything out. And the divine saying, open the door, you know? I'm trying to give you this present. But no, I pay attention to nothing. I am in the void. You know, it's like, well, then void it shall be. But we need to ask. And And what Christ said, when you pray, what things soever you desire. So according to Christ, it was like the most selfless person I'm aware of. He said, it's okay to desire things, especially when those desires have been inspired in our hearts by the presence. So what things soever you desire, when you pray, believe you have received it. Not when you see it, not when it manifests, not after it's done, but when you are praying, when you're asking the presence, believe that you have received it. Now, you may not know what you've received. You may not know how that's going to unfold, but if you do, you will have whatever you've asked for. It's one of those little secrets, taking time to receive. Some of us work so hard in our journeys, in our professions, in seeking our goals, in the spiritual path. We work so hard and put so much energy in it, and sometimes it's a little out or a lot out of balance, because there's the sowing, the work, the perseverance in working hard toward that goal, but then allowing ourselves to be nourished and nurtured and strengthened, and for what we're seeking to actually be poured out in our lives. Just a thought.
That's good.
Oh, thank you, Veronica.
What?
Well, Katerina said, thanks a lot. Veronica said, so lightening to listen to you both.
Lightning.
Thanks, angels.
That's beautiful.
Nice way to put it. Indeed.
Yeah, that's what Michael said at the beginning too, is that we're all catalyzing each other in this shift and in this growing process. And by asking questions, we're all getting something out of it. I'm sitting here looking at areas of my life where I can continue to grow in different areas, and it's a good reminder for all of us.
Okay. More, who's on the chat on Vimeo, and obviously with us on Facebook, well, or I don't know, or heard whatever. But More, who is a psychologist, a therapist, so she knows what she's talking about, I think. It says, Katerina, children of parents who have committed suicide need psychological therapy to process and integrate that experience. Please seek help for your child. Yeah, that's sound counsel.
Yeah.
And it can come in different ways. It can come through classical psychotherapy. It can come through
support.
There are all kinds of licensed. Some of the most effective therapists I know are licensed mental health counselors that aren't clinical psychologists, but are working in that field and often have much training and experience. And of course, there are those who are doing it mostly through the spiritual side of things.
And through support groups.
Support groups can be really important. But yes, I think definitely that there's psychological, I don't want to say damage, but yeah,
disturbance.
I mean, there's definitely psychological wounding. Anytime we lose a loved one, a family member, whether it's one of our children, I mean, a parent whose child takes their own life, there's so many things, and we need support, and there's so many. I don't know what's there for you in Mexico, but I used to live there, and I know there's a lot. And you can find support, and there are good therapists there too. So, and there's some really amazing pastoral counselors and spiritual counselors that actually can give sound psychological and spiritual, and there are also therapists that are very evolved spiritually, like More, who can put those worlds together in a very beautiful way, and more. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, More. Very important. Yeah. And the name is Ye Katerina. It starts with a Y. Y-E. They're on different platforms, so they're not seeing each other right. But you got it. And Veronica says, yeah, to rest in here and trust and listen. And Yekaterina says, he is in therapy. Yes, good.
Good.
And then, of course, we hope it's a good one. That's important too.
Well, you'll know it by their fruits.
Right.
Yeah.
And if he's feeling comfort and support, then sounds good.
Perfect.
And Veronica says, I liked what you said, give the problem to the presence, or something like that. I'm going to work on that. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
It's a continual meditation that we could just keep going back to over and over again every single day, and especially as things seem so chaotic and out of control. That's a place where it's like the eye of the hurricane. Everything could be spinning around you, and we're in this sacred space of our heart that has peace that passes all understanding. The mind's going, but wait, we can't be peaceful right now. We got to do something. We got to freak out. We got to blah 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 blah. And but when we're in our center with the divine, it's a much more effective way to deal with our day-to-day issues.
So it can be tricky sometimes giving the problem to the presence, because in a deep place of connection with the presence, sometimes we can let it go and we give it to the divine, and there's a rubber band attached. And then when we go on about our life and maybe something presents itself that makes it appear that the divine did not take up this cause for us, that we're not, it's going to turn out badly or something, that sometimes we take it back again. And the thing about faith, a faith connection with the divine, is trust, deep trust, and the ability to truly let it go. And so when that worry arises, rather than go back into the worry and pray all over again like nothing happened the first time, just remind yourself and the divine that the divine's taken it, and offer gratitude instead of begging for help all over again. Thank you. I've given this problem to you and I trust you. And I think the divine is deeply moved when somebody finally says, I trust you. There are people crying out all the time, help me, give me. But it's the rare one that says, I trust you. I'm going to wait patiently because I trust you. Thank you. Yep. That's a nice stream.
It was.
Anything else before we move on to the next place, which will be the intent blessings and the light meditation? But if there are any other questions or comments, we're open. We're not in a hurry. I had a friend of mine that I've known almost 50 years pass away yesterday. And came as quite a surprise because he's my age. And we trained together at the Taoist Sanctuary in Los Angeles, so many years, half a century ago. And he went on to become a very accomplished doctor of Oriental medicine, and acupuncturist and healer and Taoist teacher. He actually is a member of the College of Abbots of the Taoist Fellowship that I belong to. And there are 8 of us. There are lots more involved, but 8 of us who became ordained to that level. And so it's a real shock, for all of us. And so we're going to be offering him special blessings for his journey, and his family and friends. I know I've been feeling in shock a bit today about it. I can only imagine what they feel, because he's such a powerfully vital, healthy person and a healer in his own right, with his own practice. And His name was Dr. Bruce Eichelberger, and Venerable Reverend Dr. Bruce Eichelberger, accomplished Taoist teacher as well as doctor and healer. So we'll want to remember him tonight and offer gratitude for the gift of his life and the many countless people whose lives he touched and brought healing to over the years. Yeah, I'm not seeing any other comments. More says, most of the people around us have other interests than people who are spiritual. I would love to always stay in these spaces. We are so different. Yes, it's true.
It's funny though, because I've really been practicing as much selfless service as I can throughout the day, and it's growing in compassion, where before I would react to situations or I would get upset, by the way somebody's driving or somebody's behaving in a store or any of this. And the more that we can grow in compassion, the more that we can see around us that these people just need love too, and they're coming from a place of fear and in their minds, and they don't know how to access this space. So it's given me a really beautiful spiritual practice to be out in the world during the day and kind of look at those spaces that ruffle my feathers and send them blessings, send them peace, send them love. For some people, it may be the first time in a long time or even ever that they've felt some kind of energy of blessing or peace coming at them. And even though they may not consciously pick it up, we are all connected. So when we send blessings and love and peace to those around us or situations that could be irritating if we're not coming from a place of compassion, it does have a ripple effect. I'm sure of it. So
it sort of addresses the last comment from More. She said, I had difficulty adapting to reality. Actually, you seem very good at adapting to reality. What we have trouble with and we shouldn't do is conform to reality. The external reality is constantly trying to press us into its mold, which is one of reactivity, fear, the programming of society and the collective.
Drama, chaos.
And what Suzanne was describing is what reverses that.
Right.
Where we're, instead of being acted upon, we are actors. Katarina, you're an actor. But we're shining light and peace into the world. We're either doing that, or we're being conformed by the world around us. And we should have trouble conforming, but not adapting. Adapting is what, discovering what Suzanne was talking about, a life of service and a light of giving light.
And it doesn't make sense to the brain. So a lot of people say, well, you can't just sit around and meditate and expect the world to change. And it's quite different than that. When you start coming from a place of action instead of reaction, you're actually having a bigger impact than any words you could say, unless it's coming from the heart and the divine within us. You're having a bigger impact because it's not just taking stuff in, it's sending stuff out and transmitting it. And we were just talking about this on the way to the beach tonight, about how so many things that we hear in the news, there's shortages, this is happening, that's happening, the post office is getting way behind, so you should mail your bills extra early, and that's just another way to conform to do everything online. So it's like we can see all of these things that are saying you have to do this. I just got a notice on my phone from Google saying action required.
Those are usually phishing schemes.
No, this was actually from
Okay.
Google Play. But let me finish. But it said action required. And I even thought about that. It's like we're constantly being told that we are required to do something. And you can take a step back and say, am I required to react to this, or am I required to take action, which in this case meant take no action.
Do you understand why I didn't want to mention the name of a platform?
Yeah, sorry.
And this is another platform
Right.
in which we just mentioned that platform.
Right,
We don't want to be doing that.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, that's all. Good point, though.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. broadcast is waiting for a signal. We got a signal. There it is. Okay. So before we move on, I would just, I guess you probably did. Anyone that didn't, give us a like or a love if you do it before we dive into deep to remember. Then we'll see your name at the end and send you a special spiritual hug and blessing, okay? All right, let me check once more back over here. Yeah, okay, we're ready. So if you would, just close your eyes if they're not already closed, and it's good to open your palms and turn them upward on your lap somewhere, or your thighs, or your knees. And just allow yourself to drift into the center of your being. Well, how do you do that? It's easy. You just let go of everything else and it draws you right in. At the center of your spiritual heart is the celestial sun, the divine sun, the divine source. And just like the sun at the center of our solar system exerts the most powerful gravitational pull in the solar system, that it'll suck you right in. If we just let go of everything else and turn our attention to the presence at the center, it requires no effort at all. We are drawn into the center by the gravitational pull of divine love. So just consent to the love, invoke the presence, and let it draw you into itself effortlessly. There is no separation between you and the divine source. There never has been. All of that was the illusion the mind creates of separation. And awakening is all about dissolving that illusion so that we in fact perceive reality as it is. And reality is, you are already one with the presence. In the presence.
Music.
We'll get there.
Okay.
We're in the presence. You live and move and have your being. So just open yourself to the presence and relax. The divine presence already knows exactly what you need. All you need to do is open yourself to receive the grace, to drink in the blessing. And if you're carrying a burden with you tonight, Daniel, Nekaterina, Bruce Eichelberger, anyone you may know, it may be your own situation, which is a burden. There's nothing wrong with asking the presence for help. Once you do that, receive the help and just begin to drink in, soak in, be saturated by the blessing of the divine presence. It will bring light, guidance, and inspiration to your spirit. Peace, release, freedom to the level of the soul, the mind, and emotions. Charges and programs. It will dissolve and restructure all the mental layers. It will shine into your physical body, through your physical body, and bring you healing. Just receive it. The healing presence from the top of your head to the soles of your feet be made whole. Drink it in. His presence will flow and shine into your relationships and bring healing to them. Make them healthy. Resolve conflict. And flow out through you into the world, to all of humanity and the earth, and out to infinity. I'd like to invite us, with our eyes still closed, to imagine that we're sitting in a circle together. Lift up your hands with your palms opened, facing forward, and invite the presence to pour the flowering heart blessing through you to all the participants in the satsang. Know that it's coming back to you through all of them as well. now you can just relax. And when you're ready, open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. At least keep looking at one of our eyes. That's all you have to do during the light meditation. During this time, the presence floods Suzanne and me and begins to pour oceans of grace and light and love through us to you. It flows through every pore of our being, but especially through the eyes, which have been called the doorways of the soul. So as you keep looking at least one of our eyes, that light shines in through your eyes into the spiritual space of your heart, causing the flames of divine love and light and transformation to burn brighter and brighter and brighter within. Just receive. close your eyes now. Meditate with us for a few more minutes as the grace settles within. Now continue meditating as long as it feels nice to you. Or lie down nearby in Shavasana, which is a yoga pose. It means to lie on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward, and just dissolve in gratitude in the presence. That's a wonderful thing. If you haven't done it in a while, lie in some Shavasana. We love you very much.
Much love, light, and blessings until we connect again.
Until then, the divine in us sees the divine in